All right, I'm going to react to a couple of comments of a person who inserted himself in a conversation about Taiwan. And basically everything that this person said was wrong, yet wants to lecture me and other Chinese people instead of listening and learning from us. This is your favorite half Chinese. So before we continue, please like, share, and also subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Comment 1. You say reunite. That means it's not a part of China. If it was a part of China, then there's nothing to reunite. It's not acceptable that the dictator abuses people, and it's not okay that a country goes to war with another country or with parts of its own population. So as you can see, I have here the White Terror period, and that was basically how it became, as you know, Taiwan. So Chiang Kai-shek was a dictator who went to Taiwan, then occupied it, took the lives of anybody that looked like a communist, like he did in the mainland. Yes, I said looks like a communist, because for him even a haircut could get you a death warrant, because he associates it with communism, like the bob cut for women. Then if he knew you were a communist, you would definitely be gone. Then he put the entire population of Taiwan under martial law with a curfew for over 3 decades. Actually, here they say 4 decades. So pick your choose. Choose your pick. Which is it? Well, let me know in the comment section which it is. They called it the White Terror period. By the way, it's all Taiwanese sources which I'm using, so you cannot say that it is CCP propaganda. And this is how Taiwan has been occupied, and therefore it needs to be reunified. I guess he checks all the boxes. It's not acceptable that a dictator abuses its people, and it's not okay that a country goes to war with another country or with parts of its own population. I totally agree, but that's exactly what they did. So I guess you are going to have a problem with Taiwan right now, right? Then let's continue to the following comment where you state, and I quote again, I have no idea what the passports say. I know that if you want to reunite, then you are not a part with what you reunite. I also know it's ridiculous that strong countries use military force to take things. The people of Taiwan have voted, and for a long time at that, to not see themselves under Chinese regime. Then if China was a good country, would not threaten and use military force to take control, they would show themselves as good and better option, and then people can vote and negotiate to possibly reunite with Nigeria, China. I don't understand the Nigeria part, but yeah, to claim something based on history idiocy, because there was something before China, and that would then be able to claim parts of China. That was a whole lot. So let's dissect this. You say you have no idea what the passport says. Well, I'm going to give you an idea. Here is the passport of Taiwan. And here you see Republic of China, Republic of China, Republic of China. 3 times in a row. It says right here, circling around the emblem of their flag, Republic of China. And you still want to maintain that it is not China. It's just ridiculous. It is kind of relevant as you make the claim that they are not Chinese. You at least should understand what their nationality is. How else can you make that claim? The passport says Republic of China, and so does their constitution. Let me show it. Not only that, but the constitution they talk about is also they also talk about Chinese people. What do you think that gives you the right to take their identity away? That you later say really matters because they chose that. This is totally a false statement what you gave here, of which we have arrived now. You stated, and I quote, the people of Taiwan have voted. And for a long time at that, not see themselves under Chinese regime. Yeah, sorry, that sentence was a little bit weird. Yeah, that's also not true. As you can see here, this is actually the poll And as you can see here, this is all want to stay status quo, decide later, status quo, whatever. But mainly it's status quo. Below here is directly reunified, directly independence. Both are almost equally the same. So yeah, the overly vast majority wants to keep the status quo. What also means that the status quo is not to have Western interference. Can you now also tell the West not to interfere? Anyway, we have established that it's a false statement and not true at all. In fact, the majority voted against the DPP last voting election. However, they voted for the two opposition parties, of which one, just before the election, decided to withdraw. This is how the DPP won, by a minority of around 40%. Then also, this was a normal election. The vote was not about being with or separate from the mainland. In the history of Taiwan, there was never a vote to be Chinese or not Chinese. So the statement is completely false. Then you state, I quote, "Then if China was a good country, would not threaten and use military force to take control. They would show themselves as good and better option, and then people can vote and negotiate to possibly reunite with Nigeria, China." So yeah, I don't get the Nigeria thing. So China has never threatened Taiwan. What it always maintained is simply they want peaceful reunification over everything, even if it takes 100 years. However, when they call for independence, or if foreign forces are pushing it into independence, they will have no choice but to use military force because the territory belongs to China. So I also want to get you on that reunite, that then it doesn't belong to you. So I do not have really good things with my dad, all right? However, now I'm much older. I would love to reunite with him. It doesn't mean he's not my family right now. He's still my family. I cannot help it. He cannot help it. However, our ties are severed. I still now want to reunite, but it doesn't mean that we are not one family. We are still the same family. So also that statement, their whole way of thinking is just not correct when it comes to that. So now you have to understand that officially there is still a civil war going on. However, the People's Republic of China has not fired a single bullet since 45 plus years, let alone use military force against Taiwan. So again, your statement is completely false. I give you a brownie point. Yes, you can make an argument to say that it would be a half threat to say they will be using military force if they declare independency, or if foreign forces are pushing it into independency, like the UK and the United States are trying right now. But is it a threat if I say, if you try to steal my stuff, I will use force to protect it? Is that a threat? I don't think so, but we can disagree on that, and that's totally fine. And if you want to understand how China treats Taiwan, it extremely good. In fact, if China wants, they can just bankrupt, destroy the entire economy within 5 seconds, just like that. However, they don't. They support them at all costs, despite the differences. They even stand up if they are having problems with other nations. Like last time that Japan seized their fisher boat, it was the People's Republic of China that stood up for them, not their own de facto occupying force of a government, but the People's Republic of China stood up for the fishermen that had been detained or basically kidnapped by Japan. Okay, first, that is why it's so important to understand the full story and what it is really about, and be a little bit more open-minded instead of having a bias that China must be bad at all costs. It's not true. Sorry, I have to push this in real quick. It is very important for you to understand first what it is actually about and what Taiwan is about. If you do not study the matter, how can you insert yourself in a conversation while you do not have the proper context? This is Taiwan.
A Chinese social media influencer living in Taiwan has had her residency revoked. Immigration officials say the influencer Yaya in Taiwan posted social media videos that advocate for unifying Taiwan and China by force.
And that was actually not true. So they also are lying to their own people. Surprise, surprise. They look like very much like our Western media, don't they? So what actually happened? Because I have seen the videos. What she was talking about was what the position is of the mainland China when it comes to reunification. And that is, number one, peaceful reunification over everything. That's what they really, really want. But if Taiwan would call for independence, then they will be left with no other choice than to use a military action to prevent that territory to be severed from mainland China. And also similar if foreign forces, for example, the UK, that video what you are commenting on, is interfering in that process and trying to push for independence of Taiwan, because that would again mean that their territory is going to be severed from the mainland. And that is something, a real red line, because it's their territory and no other country will allow its territory just to be severed from its own country. I think that is quite clear. Now, what is so sad about this whole story is that Yaya in Taiwan was married to a Taiwanese national. And she had a permit to stay that has been revoked. Even more sad is that she also had children. She has been separated from her entire family over what? Freedom of speech. You think that you are from the West, so all these people are always talking about freedom of speech. How about her freedom of speech? Why is she not allowed to talk about the position that the mainland of China holds? Why is she not allowed to say that? On top of that, before you start, later they kept kicking out everybody who was talking about reunification. It's insane, and that is what you are supporting, right? Now here you have
appearing on Chinese state broadcaster CCTV, Oh Guizhi, a teacher at one of Taiwan's top high schools whose mother lives in China, criticizes her country's president.
我的母亲跟我变成敌对，我觉得我怎么面对祖先？赖清德要不要去面对他的祖先？我真是想问，那良心何在？
In the interview, supposedly about education and culture, Oh questioned President Lai's characterization of China as a hostile foreign force, saying it vilified the Chinese relatives of Taiwanese people. But her comments prompted backlash online, and even an investigation by the Education Ministry, bringing into question her suitability as an educator.
So they are going after, not only after Chinese nationals, but also after Taiwanese nationals. When you are talking about reunification or are criticizing your president, which should be allowed in a democracy. How can you have a democracy if you're not allowed to criticize? How can you have freedom of speech if you cannot criticize? Do you know what freedom of speech is for? Freedom of speech is not for you and me having our chit-chat like we are having now, virtually. But it is to have a political discourse, an open and free political discourse. That is exactly what they mean by freedom of speech. Not about whatever you talk with your spouse or whatever, or your friends, but political discourse. So this is what they're doing, going after everybody who is criticizing the DPP. Is that really, really what you are supporting? Not only that, just a couple of days ago, they tried to recall the entire opposition. That is like almost similar like a coup. Do you understand that? Do you really support this? And that is why it is so extremely important to first understand what is really going on. And I'm not even going to talk about the violence, what you will be going to have when you are from the opposition. It's just insane. That is why it is so extremely important for you to first study the matter before you insert yourself into a conversation. I don't mind you insert yourself in a conversation if your purpose is to become more informed on the matter and to learn. What I have a problem with is for you to insert yourself in a conversation of which a topic is that you have literally zero knowledge about, and then have an opinion, not only have an opinion, but to push your opinion upon others, while you have not a shred of evidence to back up any of your claims, as we will see further in the video. Anyway, then you continue, and I quote, "To claim something based on history, idiocy, cause there was something before China and that would then be able to claim part of China." Yeah, to use history to make a claim is not idiotic. It is kind of relevant. What you say there was something, therefore now they also have the right to claim is false. The two, yeah, look the same, but when we talk about territory, it's not the same. When we talk about territory, there are certain criteria, and guess what? China happens to check all of the boxes. So let me give you a short history of Taiwan. This is the history of Taiwan. So in the 1500s, it's commonly believed that European sailors passing Taiwan wrecked the island named as Isla Formosa, or beautiful island, right? So that's around the 1500s. In 1683, the Qing dynasty took control of Taiwan's western and northern coastal areas. Remember, that was the Qing dynasty. That was even before the Republic of China. That was even before the whole revolution started, right? I don't know how you want to say that it is not China. In 1885, right? Taiwan is declared a province of the Qing Empire or dynasty. In 1895, following defeat in the First Sino-Japanese War, the Qing government signs the Treaty of Shimonoseki, by which it cedes sovereignty over Taiwan to Japan, which rules the island until 1945. So there you go. In 1943, during World War II, Republic of China leader Chiang Kai-shek meets with US President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill in Cairo. Remember Cairo. After the conclusion of the conference, the Cairo Declaration is released, stating that Formosa, Taiwan, between brackets, we have to say, right, and the Pescadores, the Penghu Islands, shall be restored to the Republic of China. And these are those islands that there are a lot of territorial disputes with, among one, Philippines, right? In 1945, the ROC, UK and US jointly issues the Potsdam Declaration calling for Japan's unconditional surrender and the implementation of the Cairo Declaration. After World War II, ROC government representatives accept the surrender of Japanese forces in Taiwan. The chief executive of Taiwan province, Chen Yi, sends a memorandum to the Japanese Governor General of Taiwan, stating that as the chief executive of Taiwan province of the ROC, I restore all legal territory, people, administration, political, economical, and cultural facilities and assets of Taiwan, including the Penghu Islands. In 1971, on October 25, the United Nations General Assembly passes the UN Resolution 2758, very important, recognizing the People's Republic of China, PRC, as the only legitimate representative of China to the global body. The Republic of China withdraws from the UN. Well, let's keep it at that they redraw it, right? So what does that mean? That means that now the People's Republic of China has sovereignty over all of China, and that includes Taiwan. Even the whole entire United Nations agrees on it, including almost each and every single country in the world, but 12, I believe, or is it now 11? I believe one is trying to change now also. Anyway. So that means it has been decided that legally it belongs to the People's Republic of China. As you can clearly see, now its history and legality, it is not just a historic claim. By the way, these parts of history come from Taiwan government itself before you accuse me of CCP propaganda. So, as we have determined, none of what you say makes any sense when it comes to the Taiwan issue in this comment. So let's just go to the next comment where you state, and I quote, "So tell me all about Philippines cultures, law, history, because if you don't, then you have to accept that China is a terrorist state, stealing their islands, water, and kill their fishermen. This just follows your logic. If you don't know everything, you can't have an opinion." By the way, do you know who the most hated tourists in the world are? China do some good things, some things a lot better than our Western systems, but saying Taiwan belongs to Taiwan just shows how little you know and what bad moral you have. It's just... Okay, let's dissect this one. First, you state, and I quote, "So tell me all about Philippines culture, law, history. Because if you don't, then you have to accept that China is a terrorist state, stealing their islands, water, and kill their fishermen." I'm completely baffled by this extremely uneducated, ignorant response. I thought we were talking about Taiwan. What does the Philippines have to do with my post or the conversation about Taiwan? It is completely irrelevant to the story, but okay, the Philippines got its name due to the colonization of the Spanish. Later, when the USA was fighting the Spanish, they set the Filipinos up to the fight against the Spanish. They said they would help them to regain freedom. However, when the final battle was there and the Americans came and told the Filipinos not to enter Manila and then seize the power in the Philippines and colonize it. Fast forward, they let go of the fiscal colony and then neo-colonized it up until today through the debt traps of IMF and so on. Meanwhile, the Philippines have lost most of its culture through these colonizations. Their laws really don't matter. Why would I know them? I don't live there, and I never comment on their internal affairs that regards law. Anyway, that was completely irrelevant to the story. Now, if I wouldn't know this, why would that make me to accept that China is a terrorist state? The two are completely different things between me knowing something and another nation being a terrorist state. How does that even remotely make sense? So as you can see, I do know. Do you now acknowledge that China is not a terrorist state? Because I happen to know their history of the Philippines. Then you claim that China is stealing their water islands and even is killing their fishermen. None of those is true. The fact is that there are territorial disputes in that area, not only with China, but the Philippines also have them with Brunei, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Taiwan. So is your claim now that they all are trying to steal from the Philippines, or is the Philippines trying to steal from them? Are you now going to label the Philippines a terrorist state for killing fishermen of Taiwan? Because that actually happened. Here you are. 2013, the Philippine Coast Guard shot and killed a Taiwanese fisherman, Hong She-cheng, in a disputed fishing area. Look at his name. Very, very Chinese, and you still want to claim that this man was not Chinese, huh? When it comes to your accusation of China killing a Philippine fisherman, never happened. What happened was this. Philippines says 3 fishermen killed after boat collides with foreign vessel in the South China Sea. So one of their boats did collide with a Chinese vessel. But that is an accident, not murder. When you kill somebody, it's murder. When there is an accident, it's an accident. And it's not said that another party killed them. Also, the Philippines is often maneuvering, trying to deliberately collide with Chinese vessels. I'm not sure if they did it, but it was very, very possible. I have several videos about that. So since that is your criteria for calling a nation a terrorist state, Is the Philippines now a terrorist state? Not my words, but I mean, it's your ideology for murdering the Chinese people from Taiwan. But what I think is, I guess you will find an excuse for the Philippines now, right? Then you state, and I quote, "If you don't know everything, you can't have an opinion." I've never said that. What I said is that you need to know what you're talking about, which you obviously don't. If you want to talk about a certain topic, as you said yourself, you don't even know the basic things, like what is on the passport of Taiwan. Then how can you make claims that it is not China? Because the passport says China. I never said that you need to know everything going on in the world, but you need to know about a subject if you want to insert yourself into a conversation. You need to know and understand the matter. Otherwise, it is better to sit back and learn, as you have no idea what it is actually about. Because everything that I just told you, I guarantee you that you didn't know about this. Then you make another irrelevant claim about Chinese tourists. What does that have to do with anything? It shows you are overly emotional and you just have your eyes set on expressing your hate towards Chinese people at all costs. You want to spread your hate. It's just weird. We are talking about Taiwan, not about tourism, not about the Philippines. But anyway. But I did run a deep seek for that, and Chinese are the most criticized tourists in Southeast Asia. If you want to call that the most hated, well, suit yourself. Number 2, British are the worst viewed in Europe. Are you going to call them the most hated now too, also in Europe? But globally, the worst title is actually the French. Americans is kind of mixed. It depends on where you are and with who you talk, and so is the Australians and Russians who come after that, right? But still not sure what it has to do with the sovereignty of Taiwan. Again, totally baffled. Sorry, it doesn't make sense at all. Then you state, and I quote, "China do some good things, some things a lot better than our Western systems, but saying Taiwan belongs to China, it just shows how little you know and what bad moral you have." Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the second part, because the first part we agree on. You state, and I quote, "But saying Taiwan belongs to China, it just shows how little you know and what bad moral you have." So you are claiming that almost all countries in the world, except 12, have no understanding about the Taiwan topic because they all recognize Taiwan as a part of China. Is that your claim? So your claim is that they all must have a bad moral. That includes Taiwan, by the way, because it calls itself China, and the other ones are recognizing it as China. But we get at that later in the video. So yeah, so first, again, I'm baffled by your response. What does me having knowledge or no knowledge contributes to me having a good or bad morals? The two have nothing to do with each other. It is, again, just weird to me. And it doesn't make any sense. I highly regard you to, when you comment on these things, just use your head and just set your emotions aside. It is you who makes assumptions, not me. I only speak factual and state only facts. Also, it's weird that in the video, I literally quote the British government stating that Taiwan is a part of China. So let me repeat that part and listen carefully. Let me find it right here. This is from the UK government itself, from the parliament, all right? Sir Alec Douglas Home, I am obliged to the Right Hon gentleman for his general welcome for this move. The Right Hon gentleman asked whether Taiwan is part of China. I would express the position as follows. The government of the United Kingdom, listen very closely, acknowledge the position of the Chinese government that Taiwan is a province of the People's Republic of China, Both the government of the People's Republic of China and Taipei, that is in Taiwan, maintain that Taiwan is a part of China. You see, even the United Kingdom says that they are both agree upon, which is also factually true, that both and Taiwan and the mainland China agree that it is China, all right? We held the view both at Cairo and Potsdam that Taiwan should be restored to China. Now, I told you earlier in the video, remember Cairo? This is what I meant, because those were the declarations. So that view has not changed. We think that the Taiwan question is China's internal affair to be settled by the Chinese people themselves. This is what the UK said. Here you also see that they acknowledge the Potsdam Declaration and from Cairo that Taiwan is a part of China and needs to be returned to China. What more? Even the West does not agree with your position, but according to you, they must now have bad morals. Well, I cannot disagree with you on the UK having bad morals, not the people, but the government. But that's for another video. Okay, what we have learned now that historically Taiwan is a part of China, legally Taiwan is a part of China, most of the world agrees that Taiwan is a part of China, including Taiwan. The United Nations declared with Resolution 2758 that Taiwan is a part of China. So the claim of the People's Republic of China that Taiwan is a part of China is totally agreed upon except by people who have not studied the matter and just want to voice their uneducated opinion on matters that they have not studied. And then force people to accept their opinion. Otherwise, one will be accused of having bad morals and so on. I mean, just think about it. Now you will say that Taiwan has to decide why, if it is a part of China, then all of China has to decide, right? I mean, it is not up to a province to decide only that, right? It's just not. And also, they are not deciding on it. So I don't know why that is in your head. Also, I would like to share this poll with you from Taiwan, because that's very important. I already showed it to you. Right? There we clearly see that they want to keep the status quo for now and not independence. And by the way, the graph is from the Election Study Center, National Chiang Kai-shek University, which happens to be in Taiwan. So again, no, as I said, there's not a single source that I've used that is coming from the People's Republic of China, right? All is from Taiwan and one is from the UK and obviously from the news outlet when it regards the Philippines thing. Those were AP and CNN, right? Then I also want to show you the Constitution of Taiwan. I already showed you that actually, right? It says, what does it say? Put it in the comment section, everybody. What does the Constitution of Taiwan says? All right. It says the Constitution of the Republic of China. All right. In brackets, Taiwan. Why is it in brackets? Because Taiwan is a province of the Republic of China, according to them. In any way, shape, or form, it's a province of China. So it says the Republic of China, according to their own de facto government, or better said, occupying force, they are a province of China. Let me show it to you to make it a little bit more feasible for you to understand. So this is their map, all right? So as you can see, it's large, right? Now this here is Taiwan. I bet you didn't know where Taiwan was, so now you know. This here is the island of Taiwan. This all here is the mainland and more. Yes, mainland and more. And then they have a whole part of the sea. So let's just, you know, I mean, we can see here that they also claim the entire mainland, right? We cannot disagree on that. And more, not only in the South China Sea, they claim a 9-dash line, but also an 11-dash line, because the 9-dash line obviously is smaller than the 11-dash line. That is why I said it like that, right? So they actually are claiming 2 dashes more than the People's Republic of China. But somehow you have no problem with their claim, but you have a problem with the claim of the People's Republic of China, which is claiming less landmass and sea than Taiwan. But I'm the one who's the one with bad morals. Honestly, it's just shaking my head. I'm flabbergasted, man. If you read their constitution, you will read the Chinese when they are referring to themselves. Why would they call themselves Chinese if your claim is that they are not Chinese? What gives you the right to infringe on their rights to call themselves Chinese, right? So, yeah, let me read a couple of things from the Constitution, because that is going to be a lot of fun. Article 2. The sovereignty of the Republic of China shall reside in the whole body of citizens. Notice how they refer to China and not Taiwan. Article 3. Persons possessing the nationality of the Republic of China shall be citizens of the Republic of China. Notice again how they mention China and not Taiwan. Article 4. The territory of the Republic of China, according to its existing national boundaries, shall not be altered except by resolution of the National Assembly. Remember this map? Remember this map where they are talking about everything what is here, including the mainland, even more than the mainland claims itself. Did you know? You didn't know that, right? And here's also the South China Sea. They claim even more than that mainland China does. So if you are recognizing Taiwan as an independent nation, you are recognizing that this whole part belongs to them, the Republic of China. Do you understand now how ridiculous it is actually is what you are saying? Anyway, I hope you will remember how it covers the entire mainland, but you say the island doesn't belong to the mainland, but the mainland belongs to the island? I'm seriously, I'm so confused. Just make it make sense. Article 26. Let me find it. Yes, that's here. This one is really, really funny. It has nothing to do with that, but it must be written. Article 26, point number 3. Listen carefully. The number of delegates to be elected from Tibet shall be prescribed by law. Yes, from Tibet. That is funny, right? The call for Tibetan delegates. I wonder if that has to do with their claim of the entire mainland, that is including Tibet, that you say they do not belong to. Oh, right, that's here, right? Tibet is here, right? You know how ridiculous it is, and therefore you need to understand what you are talking about, because now you understand that none of what you said makes any sense. And I'm not attacking you. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, are trying to teach you something here. But yeah, this is exactly what I said. If you don't understand the situation, you should not insert yourself in this conversation, but instead ask and learn, instead of lecturing us who have studied the matter. Now, I do not know from which country you are, but most likely somewhere in the West, as you stated, we in the West, or something similar in one of your comments earlier, right? It is more than likely that even your own country is saying that Taiwan is part of China, as most countries do, like the USA, the UK, and the entire west of Europe, whole EU, and most of Eastern Europe. Just one country doesn't, right? And that is, I believe, Litauen, right? That's in Dutch. I forgot what the name was in English. Anyway, doesn't matter. So what we have learned here is that even Taiwan calls itself China and therefore identifies itself as Chinese. Only you say that they are not. And because of that, they are probably, according to your logic, having bad morals. The irony, right? And don't know much about the situation they are in, right? 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 Do you see now why I keep telling you, you need to understand these matters? These are not just making things up is okay. These are very, very serious matters. I hope you see now how ignorant it is to make all these accusations when you have not studied the matter. I sincerely hope you do. Then you even start to lecture me instead of asking. You could easily say, hey, in my opinion, I think Taiwan is an independent country because of this or that. But I've noticed that you and all other Chinese say it is not. Can I ask you, why do you hold that position? But no. You had to make all sorts of comments also about morals, calling China all sorts of things which they don't deserve. All based upon the assumption of you that both parties, by the way, as well as Taiwan and mainland China, deny is true. If there's anything that China and Taiwan agree upon, is that Taiwan belongs to China. and that the people mainly are Chinese. And again, most likely your government too. I would also like to say that a country needs de jure and de facto. Taiwan only is a de facto, therefore it is not a state or a country. This is something basic that you really need to understand to even insert you in this question, right? It means that they have no jurisdiction at all, actually. China allows it. China allows it because China doesn't want the People's Republic of China, I should say, allows this, right, to do whatever. Oh yeah, and as long as there's no bloodshed among us. This comes back to what you said. Oh, they need to show the good side. This is what they're doing. They are. You have to imagine they are like somebody is swatting your home and you just will not do anything to harm them. That is exactly what China. You will be sitting outside and trying your best way to think like, okay, how can we make this work that I get my home back and you also have a place to stay? That is what China is doing. If you would have studied the matter, then you would have understood and you would not have made these uneducated comments. And again, no hate meant, but you have to admit these comments are extremely uneducated and also extremely harmful because you're spreading misinformation. Other people might read it and think that it is true and base their assumption, create an assumption on it, and that is undermining democracy and freedom of the mind. So now you should wonder why you had that assumption. I know, I can tell it is very easy because the politicians and the media make it look like it is without a factual basis. Because I've proven to you that even your government, maybe you're from England or otherwise if you are from Europe or EU, they do not agree with you. They all agree that it belongs to the People's Republic of China, period. In other words, they just, I'm sorry to say to you, but they brainwash their people through methods of repetition into taking positions they don't even hold themselves. You're the prime example and evidence for it. Exhibit A. One should ask, why do they want you to believe another position than they actually officially hold? Well, so you shut up when they are having those warmongering calls to go to war over Taiwan, as my video was about, right? Because if you would say, but it is China and you, our government says we should not interfere, what would you say if they say we are going to have war over Taiwan? You would not agree. I hope this video is educational for you and that you have learned a lot. By no means is this video meant to be nasty to you in any way, shape or form, but rather it is meant to enlighten you. I also hope that this experience will provoke you to learn more and be more open-minded, and I definitely hope that the next time when you want to insert yourself into a conversation, you will first educate yourself on the matter so you honestly can have an educated conversation instead of low-key insulting people. I'm gonna leave it at this because I think I covered enough, and I hope that you really appreciated my effort to enlighten you. I hope you also enjoy my video that I made for you. I hope that you think it is a great honor, because it is. It's a lot of work to make a video. Therefore, I also hope that you will like the video and share the video. And now, since I have done you a great service by enlightening you, grant my wish that you will follow me. And also for the other people, thank you for watching. This was your favorite Half Chinese, and as always, have a great day. Your favorite Half Chinese.